Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and this is my first video about Java. So I set up IntelliJ's IDE from JetBrains. I installed Java OpenSDK 11, so that's what I am working with. And now we're going to begin talking about Java. Now Java is interesting in the sense that literally everything is an object. Now this is true in JavaScript as well, but JavaScript uses like prototypical inheritance. It's like different. This basically the way you want to think about it is that essentially your JavaScript program is all a class. Okay, so again, you create this object that has to have a very particular method that gets run at the onset. So you see this in like C++ or C# where there's like this main function, or Go where there's this main function that's kind of the starting place. But oftentimes it's just a function. In Java, it's literally a method or function of a class of an object. So in this case, how would you create your first JavaScript file? I just created a file called scratch.java. Okay, so if you're in IntelliJ IDEA, or really you could use any IDEA, because I'm going to be running things out of the terminal. So you could even use VS Code if you want. But basically what's going to happen is that you're going to first create a class. So I'm going to just delete this for a second. Control X. You're going to create a class called Scratch. Has to match the name of the file. Okay, so if your file is called scratch.java, then the class that it creates, it should be called Scratch, and classes always should have an uppercase first letter. Okay. Now the program itself needs to be in a main function. So it's a public function, which just means it can be accessed from outside the class. It's static, which means it's a property, it's a method of the class, not of an instance of the class. Okay, so that means technically you don't have to create a instance of Scratch. And I'll get deeper into what that all means. Right now we're just talking about setting up a Java program. So if you don't understand what these words mean right now, they will be clear as we explore these details more and more. And then void just means a function gives back nothing. Okay, so when a function returns no value, you declare it void. So this is just basically saying it's a public static void function. The name of the function is called main, and this program will take in an array of strings called args. Okay, an array of string called args. So that is what it does, and basically that your program starts there. So when I run this file, that it's going to start by running this function. So anything that happens in this function is my program. And there's some built-in functions. So always the first thing you want to learn is how to do hello world, like how to print something to the screen, and that's system. That's the system.out object represents the output stream of the program. Okay, so a stream is just sort of like a flow of data that comes in and out of a particular process. So system.out, you have this stream of text that gets put out by your program. You're saying, hey, I want to add to that. I want to print a line into that stream called hello world. Okay, and then that's my entire program. Okay, this is just a basic hello world program. Now if I want to run it, I would just go into the terminal. I'm in the folder where the file is, and I type in Java scratch.java, and I run it. It compiles it, and I get hello world. Cool. So that's, you've made a Java program. Now let's try some other things. What if I want to create a variable? Okay, you do have to type variables. So if I want to create a number called a number, that would be an integer. So I'll say int my num. Variable names always start with a lowercase letter, so camel casing, equals 5. Okay, so if I were to do this, hello world plus, let's try this. I think I might need to typecast this, but we'll find out. See if I get an error. Okay, so what I want to do is this should, if it works the way I hope it works, it'll just be like hello world plus 5, or it'll be hello world 5. That's what it'll print. So let's run the file, Java scratch.java. Yep, I figured that'd be a problem. Okay. Oh, that's not the problem. The problem is the semicolons. You gotta put semicolons at the end of each command. So see, hey, there's no semicolon here, Alex. Okay. So in Java, they're pretty strict about semicolons, not like JavaScript where they don't care. So let's try that again. Oh, in that case, it worked the way we expected it to. So printed hello world 5. So this is how you would create variables. Now let me try to assign this a string. So since I declared it as an integer, if I were to assign a string, the string of 5. Let's see if it gives me an error. Okay, and it does. Why? See here it says incompatible type. String cannot be converted to an int. So it's saying, hey, you said this is going to be an integer. Why? But if I change this to a string, okay, actually it might be just stir. Oh, let's try both. First, let's try string mynum equals 5 and see if that works. Okay, cannot find symbol. Yep, okay, so it's going to be something else for string. Let's try stir. Okay. So let's look it up. Strings. Let's see if we can find an example of them declaring. Here we go. String. Oh, it's with an uppercase S. String. Okay. And now it works. Okay, so you have to do the right type, and then let's see if we can. I'll look up the Boolean later. I'm assuming it's going to be Boolean, which means true or false. So Boolean mynum equals true, and let's see what that does. Yep, and that works. Okay, so Boolean string int with a lowercase. Int's the only one that's lowercased. Okay. And then I'm assuming that if I want to do a number with a decimal, I'm going to want to do a float. So that's probably going to be capitalized. Let's give it a shot. I just want to make sure that we got all these variable declarations put away. 50.5. Error. 50.5. A double cannot be converted to a float. Okay, so that's a double. So we want to use the keyword double. There we go. I always get confused when they use double and when they use float. And there you go. Okay, so if you want to use a decimal number, and let me just see what happens if I put in like multiple spots. So 555. Still work. Yep, okay. Cool. So now you know. So integers are whole numbers, doubles numbers with decimals, string, a string, and a Boolean is a Boolean. But Boolean and string are both going to be uppercase. Now notice that there's this string argument. So that means the arguments are being passed into this with a string. So I have a feeling that I could probably pass, I'm assuming. Now let's just see what that's going to be. So I'm going to print line, and I'm going to print that arguments thing. I want to see what that is. Okay, arguments. What's in there? Okay, let's try printing it out, see what it says. Okay, so it's just printing out one. This is what's in there. Now if, I wonder if I do this Java scratch dot Java, if I add in cat, does that get passed in as an argument? No. Okay, well, good to know. Although I think this is actually just the address, not the actual array. So let's do this. Args. Let's see what's in the 0 spot of the array. Cat. Ha! So it's true. Okay, so anything I pass in, I can pass in arguments. So Java scratch.java cat hello. So now if I were to change this to 1, get the second item in the array, because again arrays always start with 0. And notice that this tutorial isn't necessarily meant for as your first programming language. So I am kind of assuming that you do have some programming under your belt. If not, I'd recommend watching either my Python videos, my JavaScript videos, or my Ruby videos, because those are generally a good place to start your programming venture. Java's going to be a bit more complicated. Okay, but now if I run this, let's see, do I get hello? I get hello. Okay, so got it. So essentially any arguments you pass in after this command do get passed into this array of strings called args. Okay, when it was called args, I was like, okay, that sounds like it would probably do this, but I wanted to double check. Okay, cool. Okay, I think that's probably a decent first issue. So we've learned kind of how to declare variables. We've learned how to print stuff to the screen. We've learned how to take advantage of the arguments that are passed in, basically how you access them. So overall, not a bad first lesson. I'll see you guys next time as we learn more about Java.